was there. Everybody went, and everybody was working as hard as they could to win that race. It was the race. You wanted to win that race. That was the race, and I won it. And I remember the main. My car was so good, and my driving was just right. When the race started, I think it was Terry Schmidt and Chris Vitucci were out running, and they're running around in the two middle lanes, dicing, and here I come on red. And then I went and passed them both, about 10 laps. I came off, and I didn't win that heat, but when I got on the green, it was over. It was one of those, and I remember that race because not only the write-up called me the greatest in the world and all that stuff, but it had more guys there than any other race ever had, or before or since. And another thing that's been wonderful in my life is when I was on top of the racing scene, there was 60 million people racing slot cars. And they all know me, and they're still around. I go to the hospital, and the night nurse knows me. Yeah.
We ran in a 24-hour enduro one time with Mike Steube, John Cukras, Terry Schmidt, and me. And Terry was in charge of motors, what a mistake that was. He brought two motors, they blew up in the first hour. So guess what? Pete the motor man had to wind at the track to keep us winning. We won the race. John and Terry drove the whole race. They wouldn't even let Mike Steube drive.
He didn't know the track.
He couldn't keep it on.
He didn't know the track, man.
This is a true story, and we won the race. And one of my favorite races ever was when me and John entered at Paramount Speedway in a 4-hour enduro, and both drivers had to qualify, and they took the average speed, to whoever got the fastest. John qualified, put us in second place. I hadn't ran it yet. And John goes, just get a lap, Pete, just get a lap, man. We got to get the main.
No.
It's okay. I went up, set fast time, and put us on the pole. And we won the race, of course.
Those people were skittish.
Yes.
Put it that way.
Rule number one, skittish.
Yeah.
He wanted to get out of the car going around an off ramp.
Who's on green?
I had a 4-door, and he's sitting in the back. He's going to open the door, and I said, "No, you're not."
3, 2, 1, racing.
Yeah. And they wrote me up in a magazine for that.
That's good.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, see, while they were giving Pete a bad time, they were giving me nicknames that last a lifetime. Same guy.
I never got a nickname until I came back to this D3 racing. They called me Pistol Pete. Servino started that. But anyway, which I kind of like it.
2.5 down to
I always felt part of his fame, in a way. It's just that it's been swept under the rug. That's what pisses me off.
Yeah.
But I do one thing. If it hadn't been for him, I would have never had a motor business, because Mura supplied armature blanks and all the stuff so I could wind them and sell them. I would have never got that far on my own. When I was building motors out of stock Mabuchi stuff,
And Duran's going to
they weren't. Well, everybody else was using the same thing then. But so it wasn't that handicapped, but it was really great to have those guys produce them things.
Let's see, it was when I first met Bruce Pascal. He came into my dad's raceway. Rick Durkee at Team Rusket had brought him over. And so Bruce, I had just built a Formula One car. It was a green Cooper, and I'm racing it around our track. And so he says, "I want that car," So I sold him that car. And he says, "If you ever get it down to New Orleans, come on down, and I'll take care of you." He says, just get here. So I said, okay. So I said, hey, Bruce, I got a ticket. This was a couple weeks later. I got a ticket for New Orleans. I think I'm coming down. And he goes, well, get on down here and we'll race slot cars. So I flew to New Orleans. And this was probably in around 66, I believe, somewhere around in there. I think it was before, it had to have been before the Memphis race. And I spent a week in New Orleans with him, racing at every track there was in the area down there. The mayor gave me a key to the city and an honorary certificate for being a citizen of New Orleans. It was pretty neat, man. And I won every race that I entered down there except for the last one where somebody torpedoed me into the wrong lane and wall blasted my car and broke it into 100 pieces. But that was my first real taste of going anywhere outside of LA. And then the Miracobra Invitational, somewhere around 1969, I won that race in Brooklyn, New York, I believe it was. And, no, excuse me, it was the Cobra Invitational. I don't think Mira had anything to do with it. The track was like one of those tracks that told you that they had the battery chargers all over it and everything, and they were burning motors up like it was crazy. So most everybody was running a single 24, good old single 24, and they were melting them, burning them up, throwing wires off and stuff. So I had a couple of 25s that were really fast, but they weren't anywhere as fast as the 24s. So if I'm not mistaken, I qualified with a 24 and then switched to the 25 for the race. And I was running probably in 4th place in the race. I think that Ersner took the lead with a 24, blew up. Then Chris Vitucci took over the lead, and he was running a 24. Well, he blew up. Then Bob Emmett, he took the lead, and I was now in 2nd, and I was pushing Emmett. We were racing, and he crashed going under the bridge and broke his car. All of a sudden, I'm in 1st place. And there was one heat where I was the only car running because everybody else had burnt their motors up, and my dad's motors were just storming right along, man. Ended up winning that race. That was pretty memorable.
That's awesome.
This was a discovery of mine. I'm working for Mira, I'm making a lot of money, and everything is looking great. And I'm sitting there in my apartment one night, and I'm listening to the Oakland A's play, by the way, and I'm listening, and I'm looking, I'm going, okay, I'm going to do this for 6 more years, and then I'll have this much. I'm going to go back to school, you know, and then I'm going to do this with the rest of my life, kind of thing. I'm planning this shit out. Little did I know that the whole industry was going to collapse, you know, like in 6 to 8 months later. It's like you're at the top of your profession. All of a sudden, there isn't a profession anymore, you know. It goes away. And that's the way it was. It was gone. All of a sudden it was gone, and without the time of our youth, you know, having the time, and without having any money incentive, it was gone for me.
Yeah.
You know, that was it. And then you looked around, Terry was gone and Mike was gone. Well, not Mike wasn't gone.
He wasn't gone
but
yet,
almost everybody else was.
Yeah, all the
I mean, they went poof. I went to a race up in Seattle. NCC, the National Competition Committee, was putting on, I think there were 1970, and I went up there and I looked around and I just went, there's nothing left. This is it.
It's gone.
This is it.
It's gone.
And that was my last one. I just said,
It was in '71 that I, you know, had my girlfriend. We were getting in, and in '72 I got married, you know, and started, and that was it for me. '71, '72, slot car racing.
Yep.
Raised a family, you know, got into a leather business and a craft business, had a store, and then raised 4 kids on that. By the way, did very good, thank you.
Yeah.
And then after that, the kids were getting bigger. We moved to Santa Maria, away from Long Beach, and I started working for Lockheed Martin, and worked there for 22 years. Shooting out rockets and satellites, you know, and then I retired finally. So not just playing around, working at home and, you know, having a good time, but, you know, I have not enough time to accomplish all the things I want to try to do. You know, it's just.
When I quit in 1971, I was screwing around. I got a little inheritance, and I got this dragster, and I was screwing around with the dragster, and I was screwing around with something else. But also, I didn't have any money, and I didn't have a job. So I went down to Associated, and I started building chassis. I was building them. I had a tank that had a bunch of acid neutralizer in it. I just build them and throw them in there, and then at the end of the week, I'd dump them out and take them down there and collect a check. You know, I didn't even pay any attention to them. I pre-bent everything, did everything, cut everything, so it just went together, and all I did was do that. And then I decided, I said, you know, I want to work in the hobby business. And Aurora was in Downey, and I went down there and interviewed. And I met some people there, and I decided I wanted to work there. I went back 12 times before they hired me. But when they hired me, I got into the business, and I immediately started networking with people all over the place like that. And I basically stayed in it. You know, now this is a light should go on. How do you think I designed all these cars for all these companies? How was I there when they needed a new car? Networking. The people, my friends would say, you guys want to come out with a new car? Hire this guy.
Got a lot of guys on the lead.
You know what I'm saying? That's how it worked. And sometimes it was happenstance, like selling them an invention or doing something like that. But other times it was just they were going, if you're gonna do a new car, you got to have this guy on the team. Whether he designs the whole thing or he's part of it, you got to have him. And people would call me up and say, you want to do this? And I go, sure. Tyco was a fantastic company. When you went to Hong Kong, you know, to do you got a month in Hong Kong to help get your product through manufacturing and everything. Well, when you went there, if you wanted to go around the world, they'd let you go. So when I went around the world. I wish I would have went to. Wish I would have stopped in Russia, but I didn't. I stopped in Tehran on the way, and but that was it. I got to do that, and also they had a deal that when you were going to Europe, if you paid the difference, which was only like $220, you take the Concorde. So I got to do that. That was neat. Nothing else like it, and it wasn't the speed. You didn't notice that much. It was when they crested, you were in darkness even though the sun was out. You were in outer space, you know. It was really bizarre, really. It was fun. That was a neat company.
A lot of the people that I grew up and I was racing with in the 60s, they dropped out. So when they dropped out, there was a new group coming up. And then a lot of the semi-pros, they had become pros. A lot of the amateurs were pros now, but they weren't the crew that I grew up with. You know, the guys from the magazine race eras. Yeah, the guys I got my teeth with and stuff. And I never really hooked up with those guys. And then it became, this is an odd thing to say, but the camaraderie that I had with this group wasn't enough, friendships and so forth, to offset the amount of work and dedication it took to win a big race. In other words, it wasn't fun anymore for me. I mean, it still was exciting and to race and stuff, but without your buddies there, you know, it's not the same without the friends.
How about Tori? Did he quit or did he?
No, he's sick.
No, I mean, did he ever stop from the 60s up to today?
Yes.
Okay.
Between 1970 and 80, he rode motocross.
Really?
Ended up in the hospital a couple times, not knowing what happened.
Really?
You know, big wrecks. And after the second one, he was in a full body cast. He asked the nurse to get the yellow pages so he could find a slot car track. He quit. So he's been running more than most of us because he only took like 10 years off.
Oh.
Yeah, well, after I quit slot car racing, basically, you know, like I was just kind of helping a guy out with a little Formula B car here, and then actually, in 1972, well, 1970, John and I went to Sweden.
Really?
In 1970, me and John Anderson went to Sweden. Bruce Pascal, another old slot car racer, we knew quite well. He was the vice president of Standard Fruit and Steamship, and he heard we were going overseas, and he said, if you guys can make it to New Orleans, you got a boat. You can get. Actually, if you can make it to Savannah, Georgia, there's a boat going overseas. You can get on it. It's a tramp steamer, right? So we started out in John's Porsche. This time we blew up, and we blew up again. Oh yeah, well the car blew up again. Then we had to fly to New Orleans, worked at my uncle's place, and then to get to Savannah, Georgia. But we went overseas in 1970.
Really? What part of Sweden?
Örnsköldsvik, where John was born.
Oh.
Way up north, up near the Arctic Circle and stuff, and that was an experience too. But then we went to a couple of Formula One races, and we went to saw the 1,000 kilometers of Spa and stuff. So we traveled around Europe. When I got back, I think I don't even know what I did, but anyway, in 1972, I started working for. In 1972, I went overseas again by myself and worked for John Surtees.
Oh.
Right? Worked for Surtees and for about 6-8 months there, and then came back here and then started working for the guy I worked with for a long time in 1973, Hugh Bancroft Motorsport, which is the same business name I got now, even though I took the business over from him, kept the name and everything.